We've been married for so many years. I always felt that we were together because of love, until one day, my husband and I have the exact same phone. I accidentally took his phone by mistake and took it to my best friend's house. I was about to call him to come get the phone, but I realized that he had never been to my best friend's house. But the phone automatically connected to the Wi-Fi here. Looking at my best friend, who was still persuading me to divorce, I finally understood. It turned out that she and her husband outwardly disliked each other, but they had hooked up a long time ago. I was just a tool for her husband to heal his girlfriend. After I gave birth to the baby, they would take the placenta and use it for medicine for her. I was filled with hatred. I would never let them get away with it. At that moment, he, who had grown up together, appeared. He personally performed the abortion operation for me. After the operation, I accidentally heard him call my girlfriend. He said, "The embryo has been removed. I will send it over right away." Michael and I had another argument. Actually, it wasn't a big deal. He just wouldn't let me go back to work. I was so angry that I didn't speak to him all night. I didn't even want to tell him I was pregnant. The next day at work, I pretended to be asleep. I didn't get up to see him off. I heard Michael sigh helplessly. "Sophia, I'm leaving. Aren't you going to get up to see me off?" I pulled the covers over my head. Then I tugged them up higher. I didn't want to deal with him at all. I was going to be late. Michael gave my closed eyes a soft kiss. "Wait for me at home. I'll be back soon." And with that, he hurried out the door. Once he was gone, I got up and went to find Emily. When I arrived at her place, I couldn't help but complain to her about Michael. "I just want to go out to work. It's not like I'm doing anything to upset him. Why does he keep stopping me? We've been married for so long, and he never lets me go out. He doesn't let me hang out with my friends either. Now you're the only one who can keep me company." Emily is a top talent in the financial world. She was also my best friend in college. Now she's dressed in a neat professional outfit. She said to me, "He's limiting your freedom. Sophia, you can't just give up so easily. I also have a lot of grievances in my heart. This time I must go out to work. I don't want my child to feel that his mother doesn't work after he is born, that she can't do anything. I'll pour you a glass of water first. Don't make our Sophia angry." Emily went to get the water. I took out my phone to see if there were any new messages. When I opened it, I realized it was Michael's phone. I have the exact same phone as him. We bought the same model as a couple. Maybe Michael was in a hurry this morning. He accidentally took the wrong phone. I unlocked the screen directly, because Michael had told me all his passwords before. I originally wanted to send a message to remind him that he had the wrong phone, but unintentionally. I noticed the status bar on the phone. I stared at the Wi-Fi symbol. Emily came back with a glass of water. She saw me staring blankly. She laughed. "What's wrong? Is there money hidden in the phone? Why are you looking at it so intently?" I tried to control my emotions, pretending to be casual. I said, "I'm still waiting for Michael to reply to my message. If he doesn't let me work from home this time, I won't forgive him easily. By the way, has he not been here yet?" I pretended to ask casually, but I kept my eyes fixed on Emily's expression. She froze for a moment, then she answered naturally. "It seems that's true. I haven't invited you over for a get-together since I moved here. I'll invite you over for dinner next time." My heart sank. Emily and I have been best friends for years. I know her too well. She was obviously acting strangely just now. She must be hiding something from me. "Oh, that's right. You haven't told us what the good news is yet." I hadn't had a chance to tell them I was pregnant, so I just made some excuse and got away with it. Later, I lost interest. I just sat there for a while and then got ready to leave. I still had some things to do. "I'll go now. This matter has been troubling me." Emily, Michael and I were classmates in college. After graduation, Michael and I got married. It ended a 3-year campus romance. It was kind of like marrying for love. I really didn't want to believe that there was anything between him and Emily. When Michael and I first got together, Emily didn't like him. She always told me how bad Michael was. I often read about girlfriends not liking their boyfriends on the internet. I thought Emily felt the same way. I called Michael. He picked up quickly. "Sophia, what's wrong? I have your phone," I told him. "I understand. I was in a hurry this morning." "Sophia, do you need your phone? If you need it, I'll give it back to you." Michael spoke calmly. It seemed that he wasn't worried at all about me having his phone. It was as if there were no secrets from me. I just mumbled a few words in response. I looked down at the phone in my hands. Michael had told me all the passwords. Out of trust, I had never looked at it before. My hands trembled as I opened the phone. I looked through the photos, chat history, and payment records. Everything was clean. There were no hidden albums either. Could it be that I was being paranoid? No. I quickly swiped across the screen, looking for a clue. I accidentally tapped the weather app. I was about to exit it, but suddenly a light bulb went off. I quickly scrolled down. I saw a map at the bottom of the weather page. I immediately tapped in. In addition to the system's automatic display of home and work locations, I also saw that Emily's address was marked as Sweet Home. There were 3 entries per week, each lasting at least 3 hours. So those nights he said he was working late were actually spent with Emily. I had confirmed my husband's double betrayal, and I almost couldn't hold back my vomit. I never thought it would be Emily, my best friend. Michael came home. He saw me sitting on the sofa in a daze. He immediately put down what he was doing. He walked quickly over to me. "Sophia, what's wrong?" He wanted to hug me. I instinctively pushed him away. Michael froze for a moment. He asked, "Are you still angry with me? Okay, I'll do whatever you want." I realized that my earlier actions might have revealed myself, so I held back from pushing him away. Michael tried to hug me again. This time I didn't resist. "As long as you're not angry with me, that's fine." I should blame myself for being so stupid for not noticing what they were doing. Or was it just a really good performance all these years? Michael has always been very good to me. He has always done whatever I ask. He would even get the stars in the sky for me. But now, when did he start to change? I didn't say anything for the time being, because with just this evidence, he definitely won't admit it, as long as you agree to let me work. The most important thing is that I can be independent. Michael was a little hesitant and said, "Sophia, if you want to work, come to our company. Emily and I will welcome you, and you don't have much work experience. You won't find a good job outside." After graduation, Michael and Emily started a company together. It is now quite famous in the industry. Speaking of which, I feel even worse. When the company was just starting out, Michael's mother fell ill and was hospitalized. In order to let him work without worries, I volunteered to resign and take care of her. When we were in love, I didn't care about these kinds of things. But now I'll never let myself be treated like this again. I said angrily, "No way. Don't you trust me to find a job on my own?" Michael, of course, would never admit it. He just smiled at me and said, Okay, Sophia, you're the best. But I want you to know I'll always be there for you." Hearing these words now just made me sick. I went back to Emily's. She was as usual very friendly to me. "I heard Michael let you out to work. That's really good. Have you found a suitable job yet? I can introduce you to some opportunities." Their words made me feel like I was worthless. I tried to remain calm and replied, "I'm still sending in my resume. It's really not easy to find a job these days." After hearing what I said, Emily couldn't help but show a little smug look on her face. "We're only considering recent graduates for recruitment now. You've been out of the workforce for so long. It's really quite difficult." I suddenly realized that this was not the first time this had happened over the years. Emily had always encouraged me to try all kinds of things, like starting a business. Every time she talked me into it, I really went ahead and did it. Then she would pour cold water on me, making it seem like a huge challenge, and I would eventually give up over the years. I had failed at all my entrepreneurial attempts. My self-confidence had become weaker and weaker. I really couldn't judge people well. I just blamed myself for being naive. "Emily, where is that dress you bought last time? Show it to me." I made up an excuse to get her to leave. While she was gone, I quietly took the recorder out of my bag and threw it under the sofa. Emily was the one who first met Michael. If they were interested in each other, they could have been together. Why did they have to get me involved? I wanted to see. When exactly did they start seeing each other? I took the opportunity to get the recorder back. When I got home, I switched on the recorder with a slightly trembling hand. The recorder worked well. Their conversation was as clear as if they were speaking right next to my ear. "She's now complaining about having to go to work. Did you encourage her again behind my back?" Michael's voice sounded. Emily said coldly, "I have to remind her from time to time. She really doesn't know that she's not good enough for you. I just can't stand the sight of her with you." Michael gently reassured Emily, "Don't be angry. There's no point arguing with her. After Sophia gives birth to the baby, I'll divorce her." Emily said, pretending to be angry, "After you have a wife and children, will you still be willing to divorce her? Tell me quickly. Who is the person you love most?" Michael was silent for a while. His tone was gentle as he said, "Of course I love you most. You saved my life. I will never forget your kindness." Emily's voice became a little seductive, with a hint of teasing. "Really? Then hurry up and come over to repay me." The sound of clothes rubbing together came from behind. It made me feel a little restless. I really couldn't listen anymore. My stomach churned. I almost threw up. I was determined to make them pay. So, I hired a professional private investigator to find out the details about those two. From the detective, I learned about the past of those two. They had already secretly fallen in love while at university. They even met the parents. But a medical examination found that Emily was weak. It would be difficult for her to bear children. In the traditional Johnson family, such a daughter-in-law could not enter the door. So, Emily thought of me. I don't know who gave her the idea. She said that as long as she ate the placenta with Michael's bloodline, she would be able to conceive Michael's child. I clutched the photo in my hands. Looking at the two people in the photo smiling so happily, it turns out that I am just a tool. I gently touched my still invisible belly. I said to the child in my heart, "I'm sorry. It's me who brought you to this world full of lies and deception. You came at the wrong time." Then I picked up the phone. I dialed the number of the hospital. "Hello, is this the hospital? I came to the hospital pale." I said to the doctor, "I want to make an appointment for an abortion." This sudden change made me feel dazed. I almost couldn't stand. Luckily, someone reached out to me in time. They had quite a lot of strength. I looked up. It was a cold-faced man. His eyes were cold as winter stars. He said, "It's been a long time. You still fall over so easily." "Lucas." I opened my eyes wide. I shouted in surprise. Lucas's face still had no expression, but a slight smile appeared in the corner of his eyes. "Long time no see, Sophia." Lucas is a friend I grew up with. We were together every day from kindergarten. We stayed friends until high school. Then something happened at his family's home. He had to move away and change schools. "Why do you look so pale? Have you been having any problems lately?" He asked me worriedly. During this time, he was the only one who really cared about me. I felt warm inside. Tears couldn't help falling down my face. After hearing what I said, Lucas's face turned especially ugly. His fists clenched with a crunch. He said, "How can there be such bad people in the world? I will never let them off the hook." I shook my head and said, "I just want to get rid of the baby as soon as possible. I can't let them get away with it." Lucas stared at my stomach. His eyes softened. He said, "I just transferred here as a doctor, Sophia. Don't worry, I will personally perform your surgery. Right now." He was the only person I could trust. I looked back along with his gaze. "Okay, I trust you." Before I was wheeled into the operating room, my phone kept ringing. The nurse kindly reminded me, "Don't you want to see who's messaging you?" "No need." The ringtone was the one I had set up for Michael. Now he was messaging me. I didn't want to read a single word. The operation went well, but I was naturally not very sensitive to the anesthetic, so I woke up sooner than expected. I opened my eyes. My mind was still a little fuzzy. Did the baby already go? Through the half-open ward door, I saw Lucas standing in the doorway. My heart felt a little more at ease. I was about to call out to him when I heard intermittent voices outside. Yes, the operation had just ended. The removed embryo had already been sent. He let out a soft sigh. If it wasn't for me, he wouldn't have done it. It's useless to talk about it now. Although he only said a few words, I could already guess what had happened. Lucas's submissive attitude. I really don't know what kind of relationship they have. It made him prefer to go against the doctor's principles. He hung up the phone and walked in. The tears in the corner of my eyes had not yet dried. He saw that I had cried. He quickly came over to help me wipe away my tears. He said, "Sophia, don't worry. I have already arranged for your child. It is definitely a good place." A good place? Are you referring to Emily's stomach? The thought that my unborn child was being used as medicine filled me with anger. I wanted to make these people pay. Finally, the day of my discharge arrived. I had been under Lucas's watchful eye during my stay. I had no freedom at all. I refused his offer to drive me home. I could no longer trust anyone. As soon as I opened the door, I saw Michael sitting in the living room. I was shocked. Cigarette butts were scattered all over the floor in front of him. His beard was unkempt. His clothes were untidy. Before, he had never smoked in order to get pregnant. He had always buttoned up his shirt perfectly. Now he looked completely different. I almost didn't recognize him. I asked him, "Why didn't you answer my messages?" He stuttered a little. I frowned. "You didn't see them. I sent you 178 messages. I didn't know what to say." Michael looked up. His eyes were red. He looked miserable. His eyebrows were knitted together. "When were you pregnant? Why did you choose to have an abortion? Why didn't you tell me anything? I'm the father of your child." Michael lost control of his emotions. He shouted. His eyes were red. Hearing him say that, I let out a cold laugh. I knew about you and Emily a long time ago. You don't need to pretend in front of me now. Michael froze upon hearing this. His face became tense. How did you know? I can explain. He had just opened his mouth to speak. I interrupted him. No need to explain. I have already filed for divorce. We will meet at the Civil Affairs office when the time comes. Don't pretend to be a good father in front of me. It makes me feel uncomfortable. After saying that, I picked up my things and turned to leave. Without a second thought, Michael hurried over, grabbed my arm. He said sincerely, "Don't go." I realized I had made a mistake. I told him coldly to let go, but Michael still didn't let go. One hand pulled him away. "She told you to let go. Didn't you hear her?" Seeing Lucas, Michael couldn't hide his surprise. "Did he tell you, Sophia? Don't let him fool you. He's unreliable." Lucas interrupted him immediately. "Michael, you'd better go keep Emily company. She's been waiting for you for a long time." After saying that, Lucas picked up his luggage. He took me by the hand and walked forward without hesitation. He completely ignored the shouts from the people behind him. "Sophia, don't believe what he said." Of course I wouldn't believe Lucas. "I won't let any of these people go." Lucas took me to his house. He said, "I usually live in the hospital. I rarely come back. You can stay here without worry." Just as he said, Lucas hardly ever came back. I began to prepare my revenge plan with peace of mind. The news reported good news about Michael's company. They will soon go public. The host saw the two of them standing together. The man was handsome. The woman was beautiful. He couldn't help but joke. "I heard that you two are both single. After so many years. Have you considered getting together?" Emily smiled shyly and said, "We are getting married next month." The screen was immediately filled with comments like, "That's so sweet. You are so enviable." Similar words kept coming. I also smiled slightly. "Enjoy it. This will be your last happy time." Lucas noticed that I was watching their video. He also stood next to him and stared at the screen. His expression was full of sadness. He reached out and turned off the video. He said to me, "Sophia, if you want to get back at them, tell me. I'll handle it. I don't want you to do it." I sneered in my heart. "Telling you is just the right thing to make you snitch. To protect your Emily," I said, pretending to be sad. "I don't want to have anything more to do with them." Lucas seemed relieved. He looked relieved. He said, "Sophia, I will protect you from now on." His tone was firm, but I didn't feel the same way at all. I wasn't impressed by his words. "I don't need anyone to protect me. Only I can take care of myself." I pretended to be moved and said to Lucas, "I won't do anything at home now. This is the soup I cooked especially for you. This is the least I can do. If you don't mind, please drink it." Lucas takes the cup without hesitation. He takes a sip. His eyes light up. "This tastes really good. I never knew Sophia could cook like this." "Really?" I smile. My tone is gentle, "If you like it. I'll make it for you every day." Lucas usually has a stern expression on his face. His expression also eased a little. He said, "As long as you don't mind the trouble." I delivered the soup to the hospital every day on time, for half a month, no matter the wind or rain. I never missed a day. On the last day, I watched Lucas drink the soup. His mouth unconsciously lifted at the corner. Lucas asked curiously, "Sophia, why are you so happy today? Something good happened today." "That's why I'm in such a good mood." Lucas looked at me and couldn't help smiling. What was the good news? Could Sophia tell me? Not now. It's a secret. I shook my head. Lucas looked at me. His eyes focused. Then he said, "When I go back today, I'll have good news for you two." I felt his gaze burning. I couldn't bear to look at him. I quickly averted my eyes. After leaving the hospital, I didn't go home. I went straight to Michael's company. Standing in the lobby, I looked at the marble floor, which reflected the shadows of people walking on it. I felt a little lost. I hadn't been here for so many years. Had it changed that much? It used to be a small, dark, and cramped company. I walked up to the reception desk. I said, "I'd like to see the CEO." The receptionist, with her carefully applied makeup, looked at me. She received me politely, but her eyes betrayed a sense of superiority. She asked, "Madam, do you have an appointment?" I said calmly, "I don't have an appointment. Could you please help me to inform them?" The receptionist looked down on me a little. When she heard that I didn't have an appointment, the disdain in her eyes became even more obvious. "I'm sorry, madam. I can't help you if you don't have an appointment." I said calmly, "If I had an appointment, I wouldn't need to trouble you to inform them." The receptionist was stumped by my words. She gave me a glare. She ignored me. She completely ignored me. I sighed. I didn't want anyone to see this. I took out my phone. I was about to make a call. Suddenly, I heard someone shouting my name from behind me. Sophia. I turned around. It was Emily. She looked refreshed. Her complexion was great. She warmly took my hand. It was as if nothing had happened before. Why didn't you tell me you were coming here in advance? I could have shown you up. Did the receptionist stop you? Don't be angry. That's what the receptionist is there for. She needs to stop people who don't belong there. Otherwise, anyone could just turn up and say they want to see the CEO. That would be a disaster. I look at Emily. She's hinting at how lowly I am. I remain silent. Emily leads me to the elevator. In the elevator, Emily continues her performance. I haven't seen you for so many days. I've missed you a little. I said expressionlessly. Emily, you don't need to pretend in front of me. Hearing this, Emily stopped pretending to smile and said directly, you came here. You're not trying to make Michael reconsider being with you, are you? I'll tell you. Michael and I were truly in love at the beginning. If it weren't for my poor health, it wouldn't be your turn. You still don't know. The idea actually came from Michael. Thanks to you. We're getting married soon. She proudly showed me the diamond ring on her finger. Say, for this reason, I'll ask Michael to give you some money later. At least you won't go hungry. I looked on coldly. Everything you're hoping for will soon be shattered. Enter Michael's office. He was sitting blankly behind his desk. I don't know what he was thinking. Seeing someone come in, he immediately starts to scold. Didn't I say I don't want any visitors right now? When he sees it's Emily, his expression softens. I've brought someone with me, Emily says, and pulls me out from behind her. Michael's eyes light up when he sees me approaching. Sophia, are you here to see me? He asks. Are you having second thoughts? Michael is very enthusiastic about me. This surprises Emily. Michael, I thought you said you were divorcing her. Michael's face froze. Emily, you said before that as long as you were healthy, you were fine. I've actually been in love with Sophia for a long time. I've paid you back everything I owed you. Emily didn't expect things to turn out like this. No, what do you mean you've paid me back? Let me tell you, you'll never be able to pay me back. I stood by the side, watching this chaotic scene. I felt it was time to make Emily even more desperate. I picked up the phone. I dialed the police station. Hello, is this the police station? I want to report Michael and Emily. They are suspected of illegal fundraising, money laundering, and foreign exchange management crimes. They both looked at me. Emily, even at this moment, couldn't hide her disdain for me on her face. She said, you don't think that having the police investigate the company will do us any harm, do you? Even if Michael chooses to be with you because of his guilt, my shareholding in the company gives me the final say. Tears were still on her face, but her expression was proud. Even if Michael stays with you, you won't get a penny, I said calmly. Who says I don't have evidence? I turned to Michael. That recent overseas remittance your company received, you didn't look at it carefully, did you? Yes. An investment that could get the company listed directly. Who would bother to check the details? Having said that, their expressions finally changed. Emily said in a shocked voice, impossible. How could you possibly have this kind of power? You can't even read the account books now. It seems that you've graduated for too long. You've forgotten. I was the one who got all the scholarships in the department. I was also the one recommended by the professor for postgraduate studies. I miss those days, but now I am. I will live a better life. I heard the siren getting closer and closer. I couldn't help but frown. If there's anything you want to say, tell them later. Emily now felt a sense of utter despair. It was indescribable just an hour ago. She was the object of everyone's envy. Marriage was within reach. But now she could become a prisoner. In her despair, she said out of control, you think you've won. You don't know yet. The Lucas who is by your side now was actually also arranged by me. You really think he wants to help you. You're just a pitiful person who no one cares about. No one will ever truly love you in this life. She seemed a little out of control. There was an unusual gleam in her eyes. In the end, I'll win. I interrupted her. I've known about Lucas for a long time. As for me, I don't need anyone to love me. I can love myself just fine on my own. What's more, I won't let Lucas off the hook so easily. Sophia, Michael called out to me. I turned my head impatiently to look at him. He was no longer as surprised as when he first heard the news. He was surprisingly calm. He said to me with an apologetic smile, I'm sorry. How can I make up for the harm I've done to you? I said coldly, unless you die. I left without looking back. When I got home, I arranged the aromatherapy diffuser that Lucas usually used. I also cleaned the room. I was waiting for him to come back. In recent days, Lucas has been coming home from work every day. It's not like it used to be. He's finally back. Lucas's face looks a little strange. I pretend I know nothing. I say to him, "You're finally back. I've prepared a table of dishes. Come and taste how they are." Lucas stares at me for a long time. His expression is inscrutable. Finally, he smiles and says, "Well, as long as you made it, I like it." Lucas ate the food I had cooked. I smiled sincerely. I saw on the news that the two of them had been detained for economic crimes. "Sophia, you did this, didn't you?" Lucas suddenly spoke. Since he had asked, I didn't intend to pretend anymore. "Yes, I did it. It's just prison. I don't think that's a punishment enough." "Are you asking me this because of Emily?" Lucas's face suddenly turned ugly. "You know everything. I knew from the beginning, from the day you killed my child." I understood. I couldn't hold back my emotions any longer. "What did I ever do to you? Why are you doing this to me?" If I hadn't heard it with my own ears, I wouldn't have believed it. Lucas silently lowered his head. He let me vent my emotions. When I had finally finished, I accused him. "I hate you most of all. You killed my child. Someone like you doesn't deserve to be in a hospital, saving lives." Lucas looked up. There was blood at the corner of his mouth. He asked, "Did you put the medicine in the soup every day?" "Yes. I found the food that clashed with the aromatherapy he usually used. I put it in the soup every day. Today is the last day." Lucas smiled. "In the past, your family was sorry for me. Now I'm sorry for you. I frowned. I thought to myself, when has my family ever owed him anything? But time was running out. I watched as Lucas fell to the ground. I had to turn away, because my plane was about to take off. This time, I will love myself more than anyone else. 3 months later, my phone screen lit up. A news article had been pushed to me. The Johnson Group was suspected of multiple economic crimes. Its chairman had been arrested. He committed suicide in custody yesterday. He is dead. The man who had haunted me for most of my life had simply left. I didn't know whether to feel happy or to cry for him. I just kept watching the news. Then Emily appeared. She wasn't wearing any makeup. She looked much paler than usual. When she saw the camera, she suddenly became agitated. "Are you watching, right? I'll tell you. I'll never let you off the hook if I get the chance." "I definitely won't let you off the hook," I sneered. I turned off my phone and continued watering the plants on the balcony. Regarding Lucas's death, the police did not come to see me. My plan was hasty, but it was executed too cleanly. This took me by surprise. However, I did not think much about it. I just occasionally reminisced about our younger days. I sighed. If only life could always be as simple as when we first met. Now, my wish has finally come true. I can finally move on to the next stage of my life without any regrets. Lucas's extra scene. I once deeply loved Sophia. I loved her so much that I wanted to marry her. I had long since planned our future. We would both apply to the same university. Then I would confess my love to her, and we would stay together forever. But things didn't turn out as I had hoped. It was a normal day in my second year of high school. I came home early because I was sick. As soon as I opened the door, I saw Sophia's mother with my father. I don't remember much of what happened that day, but the scene made me feel very uncomfortable. I will never forget it. I didn't know how to face Sophia, although I knew in my heart. It had nothing to do with her. She was innocent. But emotionally, I really couldn't help hating her. I also hated myself, because I was the one who introduced Sophia's mother to the family as a nanny. In the midst of this pain, I decided to leave. I left Sophia, thinking that this would stop my father's relationship with her mother. But my worst fears came true. Distance did not stop them. Instead, it made them even more reckless in the end. My mother found out about it all. She was already in poor health after such a blow. She passed away directly. Before she died, my mother held my hand tightly. Her eyes were exceptionally bright. She said to me, "Lucas, you must avenge me." From that day on, my life was only about revenge. I reappeared in front of Sophia. My goal was revenge. I understood Emily's plan, and I completed it step by step. The only problem was, I couldn't control my heart. I fell in love with Sophia again. I watched her walk away from me with a cold face. I knew in my heart, it was completely over between us. I took advantage of the fact that I could still move. I didn't call for help. He took out a piece of paper and wrote a suicide note, explaining that this was his suicide. It was the last thing he could do for Sophia. If there was a next life, Sophia, could we just be ordinary lovers and live out this life together in peace?